my vantage point is, I mean, this is life. It's football. There's we've seen the good times, and today we're looking at staring adversity.
So the LA Chargers got destroyed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? And I don't think the LA Chargers are going to make the playoffs, right? Their team stand 8-6, right? They got a must-win game Thursday against the Denver Broncos as well, right? And I don't think that they're going to win that game against the Broncos because this team lacked consistency, right? All across the board, from offense and from defense and from coaching as well, right? Starting with the offense, man. Let's be honest. I don't think Greg Roman is a great offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert, right? His past concepts is doo-doo. And at the end of the day, he was bought in to basically take the pressure off of Justin Herbert, right? And provide him a great running game, right? The Chargers this year is ranked bottom in the league in rushing this year, right? They're graded one of the worst rushing units in the league. And on top of that, they have one of the worst interior O-lines in the league, right? So their two tackles been good from Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt as well. But at the end of the day, they just don't have the running game. And then when you look at their pass concepts are basic. There's times where Greg Roman runs the same concepts where it's near each other, where they like overlapping near each other, right on the same area, and things like that is just not good from an offensive perspective as well, right? They're just not a good offensive unit whatsoever. They're inconsistent, and despite that, Justin Herbert this year, I mean, he had an interception against the Buccaneers, but he only threw 2 interceptions this year, which is highly impressive. And then going into this game, I think he had tied Tom Brady with the most games without throwing the interception. So it's very impressive with Justin Herbert, what he's able to do. But at the end of the day, Justin Herbert deserves some fault as well because at the end of the day, he's just not consistent in games when his team requires him to be. Part of that is that he's always been injured, which limit his mobility. I think the Chargers' offense is really good when Justin Herbert is mobile, making plays out of structure. Because at the end of the day, they don't really have good wide receivers, right? They don't have no wide receiver one. Lat McCunkey on a good team is a wide receiver 3. Even though Lat McCunkey numbers this year screams like eye popping because he's topping the lead in receiving yards for a rookie as well. He has a couple of touchdowns as well, right? The problem is that he is not no wide receiver one. Lat McCunkey is a slot guy. He's only predicated off the slot. He doesn't provide any value as a wide receiver one in the X. Lat McCunkey is solid, but he's a wide receiver 3 on multiple teams that has wide receiver 1s and 2s as well. At the end of the day, Justin Herbert, he has to be better. I mean, Justin Herbert played one of the worst games he played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The offense didn't get it going in the second half of the game. And that's been the story of the Chargers offense, is that they have been one of the worst offensive units in the second half of the game. We've seen it basically throughout the totality of the Bengals game that they didn't do nothing in the second half, despite the offense having a fire start in the first half of the game. And in this game against the Buccaneers, the offense looked really, really good in the first half of the game. In the second half of the game, didn't really do nothing, couldn't convert on third downs as well. Jim Harbaugh didn't adjust whatsoever. They were sending all-out blitz, dropping in zone as well. Jim Harbaugh had no adjustment. And at the end of the day, when you can't run the football because their best running back and J.K. Dobbins is hurt, right? So now they're using Verdell and they're using Gus Edwards to run between the tackles as well. Like, that's just not going to help your offense because they cannot run between the tackles whatsoever. So not only Justin Herbert is in a situation where he don't have no consistent offensive line, but he doesn't have any running game, which is supposed to help your quarterback, right? So those the reason why I don't think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, because at the end of the day, your team has to be consistent. And when I look at the Chargers, they're just not consistent offensively and defensively. The thing about it, when you look at the Chargers defense, they've been facing on inferior offenses as well. And they've been doing a great job in stopping those inferior offense, things that you want a defense to do. But when we talk about the great to elite level offense that you're going to most likely see in the playoffs, like the Bengals, they gave up over 38 points as well. Like the Ravens, they gave up more than 30 points as well. Chiefs, they was moving the ball effectively against the defense, and they struggled stopping the Chiefs on third down situations. So I don't think the Chargers defense is elite level defense whatsoever. I think they're a solid defense. I think they're a good defense, right? And I think Jesse Minter has done a great job in helping that defense. But I don't think that defense is great to elite. And when people sit there and think about that they're great and elite because would they hold their team to points, right? that's just not an accurate depiction of how good that defense is because they've been facing inferior offense as well. So you got to contextualize those things. But I also want to give a blame to Jim Harbaugh because at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh, you didn't really make any moves during trade deadline. The Chargers lack a true wide receiver one that can consistently create separation, that can consistently make tough catches as well, consistently provide the impact for the wide receivers, and he has made no moves whatsoever. You had an opportunity of getting multiple wide receivers during trade deadline. You didn't do it. In the draft, you only draft Ladd McConkey. After you lost Keenan Allen, after you lost Mike Williams as well, you didn't give Justin Herbert any weapons as well. Then you go get an offensive coordinator and Greg Roman as well when it doesn't match Justin Herbert's skill sets as well because he's in a run-first offense. That's what he produces. Greg Roman produced a run-first offense as well. So my point is to sit there and say, like, you didn't do anything whatsoever, right? Like, you didn't help this team. Like, yes, the team has a winning mindset this year, and they did much better than what they did last year. And I think you're a much better coach than Brandon Staley. But at the end of the day, you really didn't do anything. Like, you didn't give Justin Herbert no weapons, and you took away his weapons and gave him even a worse rushing unit as well. The Chargers' rushing unit is terrible. They're not good whatsoever. So do I think that the Chargers are going to make the playoffs? Absolutely not, because I can see them losing to the Broncos, losing to the Raiders one time. Like, I don't think this team is good enough to make the playoffs or to sustain deep postseason runs. And the last but not least, Justin Herbert, you got to be better, man. You got to win games. Justin Herbert has the talent. He has a top 5 talent in the league. When you look at anticipation throws, elite level accuracy, elite level processing ability, great ability out of structure to make plays, right? But Justin Herbert, bro, when are you going to win big games, man? The only good team the Chargers have beaten throughout the whole season is the Broncos. When is Justin Herbert is going to put the things together and win the big games? Because he hasn't won the big games throughout the totality of his career. And that's frustrating because I actually like Justin Herbert. But he has never played good against good level teams whatsoever, right? So at the end of the day, there's times where Justin Herbert is good in the first half, but then there's times where he's trash in the second half. And it can be vice versa. He's not been consistent in games which require him to be at this elite level guy. And it makes me frustrated because I actually like Justin Herbert, and he's not playing at that consistent level. The thing is, the Chargers should be happy because they're ahead of schedule, because this is supposed to be, for most people, considered a tanking season for the Chargers as well, right? Because nobody expected the Chargers being in the situation to be able to possibly make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, in the offseason, you got to get better. And that starts with firing Greg Roman. That starts with revamping the interior O-line, which the Chargers are not good at whatsoever. Getting running backs, getting a running game, and getting a true wide receiver one. Because at the end of the day, the weakest part of the Chargers is their offense. And it's crazy when they have a top 3 quarterback on their team, the weakest point of their team is the offense.